Hello and welcome to Ivory Blush Roses. Today we're going to stitch seam 13 on the Crazy Quilt pillow for CQtober. I'm looking forward to getting started today. It's a lovely fall day outside, so let's pick a seam. There's one. Let's see what it says. Well, today's stitch is triangular feather stitch, and this is one that I don't stitch very often. That should be a fun one. Let's see where we can go with this one. This is one that's going to make little triangles off of one side of the thread. So it could be a good one to go around a curve and have those diamonds coming off, whichever way we wanted to do it. We have this really long seam. I say it's really long, but remember we're cutting off probably 1 inch to 2 inches on the outside of this. But that could be fun, and that would bring it out into this area. And we haven't had anything like that. We do have a feather stitch right here. We also could do this corner, again thinking we could go off into there. That's got a lot of colors on it, and this is going to be one that we may not be doing a lot more to it. So let's also take a look at some of these other seams. We have something like this plain piece of fabric here. Again, I'm just thinking when we look at some of these smaller seams, I like the idea of doing this one as well, and we don't have anything geometric over here, and so that might be a good option on this seam here. Kind of liking that one. So let's do this seam here. So let's put it this way so we can see, hopefully a little more easily. And remembering that these fabrics are all reused from clothing once upon a time. This one has got some little marks in it, so I think if we're doing something to cover up some of that, that actually helps detract from that. And I do like the idea of doing that geometric seam on here. So let's do that one. Let's also think about colors. We're probably not going to use green on this because there's a lot of green right in here. Except, how would that? No, it blends in too much. We want this to be a seam that's got a lot of great contrast on it. And to be truthful, I'm thinking that we probably need to go with either burgundy, which is going to be a little darker. I'm really thinking about this orange. That's one of our darker colors. I think that would look pretty spectacular coming off of there. But let's also take a look at one of these that might be just a little bit brighter. And I think the biggest difference between these two is that this one has more of the red in it. Although you don't necessarily see a lot of that in what I've pulled out. Where this one is going to lean slightly more gold. We have a lot of gold coming in right here. We do have this one. This is probably this thread here, or no, I think that's actually that one. I'm still leaning toward that first one I pulled out. I think that one is going to be good. So let's stick with that. I'm not sure on embellishments for this seam. So I think we need to stitch the seam and see how it goes and then decide. Let me get a needle threaded and get this in the hoop, and I will be back. We have our seam line here. It does have a little bit of variation, so I'm going to try and stitch as straight down that as I can. And we're going to start off up here at the top of this seam. I want to get just as close to that as I can go here. And we're going to start off with just making a standard feather stitch. Now, I don't want my stitches to be too big on this one, so I want to watch that because we're going to make these little triangles. Sort of fringed triangles here. And we're really close to that other seam up here at the top, and that's fine. I'm not too worried about that. Then we're going to come back, get rid of that cat hair. We're going to go back up here where we started. And I'm going to come back right about there. That's as big as I want to be, so I need to be really careful not to make my stitches too big, because I know I have a tendency to want to do that, to get bigger as I go. And this one I'd really want to keep nice and even. So I'm going to watch spacing, and then we're going to come back and go right up where we came out of. We want that to be as really tight up there. Now this is a spot where the black fabric comes in, but it's going to come back out. So I think I'm actually going to come straight down here. Let's see if I get this right. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. And I am going to come over this way for that next one, but we're still going to come out. Again, not making my stitches too big, because we're turning it ever so slightly here. So up to the next one, and then we're going to come back down right about there. And that's a little bit bigger, so we need to really watch this next one to be smaller again. I'm really liking the orange against that green. Never been a big fan of orange, but I have to say it is growing on me. I'm going to come down. Yeah, I gotta watch that. We're getting bigger here, so I think we're still in range. And I know as we get down here close to this bottom, I didn't take the fabric all the way over the edge of the hoop, so we're going to stitch a little closer to the edge on this one, which I'm glad for. Make sure I'm not stitching through my thread on the back side. Alright, can I fit another one in? I think I'm going to go just as far as I can, just for continuity here and not knowing exactly where that edge is. Okay, and I think this will be the last one. We're going back up to the top. And so as you look at this, what do you think we should add? Remembering our choices are French knots, pistol stitch, straight stitch, lazy daisies, and the twisted lazy daisy. All right, so there is that seam. Let me turn it over and we'll make our knot. We're right there at the edge of that. We're going to actually bring it out to make the knot because I don't have enough room there to do it. There we go. Well, there is that one. So I'm pretty pleased with how that looks. As I'm looking at this, these little ends are great places to bring things off of. Let's do 2 passes on this seam. I think if we do it a red, let me think here. We have this one. The biggest problem with this one is the variegations are so far apart, but I love the look it gives. I think we're going to go with this burgundy. I'm thinking of doing a twisted lazy daisy that comes off out of here. And then I'm thinking we need a leaf, but then which thread are we going to use for leaves on that? To me, leaves are always green, but green is not going to show up on that. We also have this kind of golden brown. I think it's too similar. No, it's just a matter of trying and finding the one that's just correct. Maybe I need to rethink what I'm doing. I love things that are plant-like, and so I always go for leaves and things rather than graphic designs. I think everything else on this is also fairly graphic. So I'm thinking, since it is autumn, do we want to do the twisted lazy daisy in the gold and the leaves in the red? Or the twisted lazy daisy in the red and the leaves in the gold? I'm not sure. Let me thread up a needle and we're just going to play with it. I'm sort of liking the idea of red leaves here, because I can always bring a leaf off of the base. Let's try that. I'm going to start here at the bottom because lazy daisies always end on the top of the lazy daisy. But I think I would like to do a second leaf. And let's do this one on top of that little leg. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to park my needle over here and let's play with this twisted lazy daisy. Now we don't have to make a big one. Do I want to bring it out further? Let's try that. We'll try bringing it out further. I need to see where I'm going with this. Of course, that's that one. I want to cross it over and then come up in that loop. Do I want to bring it down there? I think I want to bring it down here. I think that's going to be more interesting. That works. Let's do all these red lazy daisies. I need to park my other one here somewhere and get it out of the way. And let's go up and do these. I'm doing one off of the end here. And I'm not going to worry about keeping them all in exactly the same position. If one gets a little out of position, that's going to be fine. I'm just trying to do something that's got a little life to it. Has a bit of a natural feel. We know it's not going to be natural because it's embroidery thread, but we'll just keep going up that seam. I don't think this will take too long. And while the red on the green doesn't necessarily show up really bright, it pulls in color from over here and from some of these other seams that are a ways off. That helps bring us a little more continuity to our project. Trying to get it up right near there. I'm really enjoying this one. I think this might be one of my favorite ones that we've done so far. So as you can see, there are just endless possibilities for what you might do with a seam like this. I mean, think about adding French knots in places. We could certainly go through and make more passes and add French knots to that other little stem. And I think with this one, we're going to call that quits there because we're running into where all this other stuff is. And I want to leave a little room for this seam because this is going to be a short seam here. So let me come back to our gold down here and let's make some twisted lazy daisies. And again, I'm going to try and vary these slightly so that they're not all exactly the same size and shape. I pulled the loop too tight, and so it doesn't make the nice twist in it, and that's what we are liking. So I'm just going to pull that over a bit on that one side. There we go, down into the bottom of that triangle. And you can see, depending on which side is lifted over, it catches the light differently, and I enjoy that aspect of it as well. So I just turn it. For me, it works best to go ahead and turn it before I ever stitch through. Otherwise, I seem to have a harder time with it. I have to find that spot I want with my needle. And I don't think I can fit the actual twisted lazy daisy in here, but I can put in a straight stitch that leads out to it. Well, let's turn it over, make a couple of knots. So let me turn it over. We're going to get it off the hoop and we'll take a look at it. Well, there is our triangular feather stitch done with lazy daisies and twisted lazy daisies. I'm really happy with that one. I'm happy with my color choices, happy with the way it shows off on that green fabric. I like the fact that it sits completely on the green on that one. I know we so often think of doing the seam right down the middle, but sometimes offsetting it can make such a big difference. And I think that's the first one on this project that we've done that with. Thank you so much for watching. I'm deeply grateful for your presence. Have a beautiful day, happy stitching, and I'll see you in the next video.